Our next guest, and we haven't had a bookstore owner on in a while. So Karla, I think it's pronounced Aghedo, but she can correct me if I'm wrong. She recently opened a Christian bookstore in Fifth Ward, Houston.
That's my
If
girl.
yeah, if any of you all know about Houston and the wards, I'm not from Houston originally, so I get them mixed up. But Fifth Ward, they call it Fifth Ward, Texas. It's not even limited to Houston. So anyway, Karla, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Thank you so much. I am thrilled to be here.
And we're thrilled to have you.
And we met you originally at this year's National Black Book Festival.
Yes,
And you
that
said
was
you,
an incredible experience. So inspired by what you've created, and to meet both of you ladies on the same day, it was just a blessing. Yeah.
Oh, you were a blessing to me because I sure was like, I don't feel like taking these books home, and I need to keep my books in Houston. And then all of a sudden, this angel walks up and says that she owns a bookstore in Houston. I said, "Oh, girl, we need to talk."
now, is your last name pronounced Agibo? I mean Agido?
A ghetto.
Oh, Gatto. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. And you, that's your married name, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And your husband is from?
He is from Benin City, Nigeria.
Okay. All right. So, um, you're an attorney, correct?
I am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I'm doing this interview in between preparing for hearings and
Wow,
filing a motion tonight.
Oh
you're a busy
boy.
lady.
Oh boy, you are busy. And you have three children, I think. What didn't you bring them with you?
That's right. Yes.
So, what tell us the name of your bookstore and tell us what inspired you to open a bookstore in the current environment, in the current literary environment.
Yes, and thank you again so much for having me as a guest tonight. I'm really thrilled to be here. The name of our bookstore is the SisStore Joy Christian Bookstore. So when you're looking for us, it's sis, like hey sis, right? And then the word store, and then joy. And what really inspired us to create this bookstore in this literary environment was this idea of creating community around people who really need to be celebrated. So we are featuring Christian Black women, authors, and artisans, and their work comes from all over, right? It spans anywhere from devotionals to children's books to even now a thriller, right? With Dr. Rhonda Lawson's book. Um, but our authors all self identify as Christian Black women. And we just believe it's so important to create community around that group of women, both um, bringing those women together as authors, as creators, but also bringing the women together who love them. And frankly, the women and men and children and everyone else who want to celebrate those authors. And we just thought it was really important to do that in this particular season, politically, religiously, all of that. So, yeah.
I like how you said women who self-identify as Christian authors, because often when people hear the phrase Christian author, they think of authors who write Christian fiction.
Mhm.
And not every Christian writes what's titled as or what's thought of as Christian fiction, because I personally don't write Christian fiction. However, there's always going to be a theme of Christianity in any of my books. There's always going to be somebody who's saying you need to pray, or somebody who's going to the Lord because they have something on their mind, or there's always going to be somebody who turns to God. There's always going to be something in the story. But I made a decision when I first started writing that I didn't want to write what was known as Christian fiction, because I feel that Christians are real people.
Yeah.
Christians go through their own struggles. Christians have they have certain times where they're not going to say the Christian thing, so to speak. And so I
Hmm.
wanted to write about those people and talk about those experiences, because I think when we write stories where the Christian woman or the Christian man is always perfect, the person who has a struggle is always going to feel like they're falling short if they don't
Hmm.
see themselves in these stories. So I made that conscious decision to not write characters that way.
Absolutely. I love that. And for us, it's a decision about empowering that writer,
Right,
empowering an author, and affirming her ability to express herself outside of the box, right? In multiple different ways. But then also our consumer is looking for different things as well. She needs access to great self-help books. She needs
hmm,
access to great material for her kids. And she needs access to a story that she can get lost in, whether
right.
that's autobiographical or fiction, right? So that's what we were thinking when we thought of our concept behind Sister Joy.
Hmm. Now, I hadn't thought of this till you described your mission and what you focus on in your bookstore, but I have a novel series. It's a two-book series that has a biblical tie-in, and I need to send you one. The first, the first installment is the Genesis Files, and the sequel is Exodus from Treachery. And the
Mm.
storylines takes place in Houston. It's a mystery set in Houston, both books. So I need to send you a copy of each one, so you can put it out there and see if people like it. I think they will. It has a biblical tie-in. It's not Christian fiction at all, but the characters rely on faith to get them
Right.
through what they're dealing with, and it's some treacherous stuff that they have to deal with in both books. So um, I think your audience would enjoy them.
That sounds absolutely perfect. I love that it's based in Houston.
Yeah,
Um,
the Houston
yeah.
story. People will recognize the landmarks, and so even some I even mentioned restaurants and street sections of town, freeways that people frequent, and the it's centered around a journalist that works for the Houston Ledger.
Is
That's the name
Papa
of the
Doe
paper.
included in the book?
No, Papa Doe is not in this book. Actually, they meet one of the two of the characters meet at Fuddruckers though. And you know, and Lucille's is mentioned in the book.
Yes. Now, is it the Fuddruckers that got closed down right there in the medical center?
No, I wrote the first book so long ago, I don't remember which Fuddruckers I was referencing. I just know it was Fuddruckers. I have to go back in there and look to tell you that, because
I love
it took me 5 years to write each book, and there was time in between. So the second installment just came out a year ago, so it's a lot more familiar. All the details are familiar to me. The first one, I don't know every single detail in my mind because I wrote it 10 years ago. But they are both, well, highly rated on Amazon. Excellent rating. So I'm going to send that to you now. For your bookstore, you did a retreat. You did it already. You had a writer's retreat.
Yes.
Well, tell
And
us about that.
yes, so this was our first ever writers retreat. As you know, our bookstore opened in March of 2024, so we are still
Mhm.
very young and growing. The writers retreat kind of combined the work that I've been doing for a while, curating wellness retreats for professional women of color, with my love for books, my love for writing, and my real passion for authors who've got stories to birth. And so, I said, hey, why don't we host a weekend where we um, not only inspire authors, not only get them together to connect with one another, but build in some time for them to write, right? Maybe there's someone who needs to get away from their kids to do some writing. Needs a quiet space, maybe just somebody else cooking the meals, to really be able to focus in on their writing. And maybe they can do a lot or a little in a weekend, but being in a space that's all about curating their creativity and celebrating their art, I thought would be really meaningful. And it was a big success. We
That
had, when I say big, I love intimate groups. So sorry if you can hear that train. That's one of the lovely features of Fifth Ward. Um,
No, we didn't hear it.
I
The
didn't hear it
microphone on
either.
these computers is very narrowly focused in terms of the audio, because if you move too far away from your computer, your voice won't pick up. And
yes.
so background noise, fortunately, normally is we used to have a group of people that lived across the street. Thank God they've gone. Well, they actually burned the house down from the ins. They were renters. It was a horrible experience. But they used to have motorcycles, like it would be in the like 1 and 2 o'clock in the morning. It'd be three or four motorcycles revving, and sometimes they would do it during the show, but nobody could ever hear them. So that let
Okay.
me, the audience couldn't hear them, but they would be revving their motorcycles, like, like they were telling the whole neighborhood, here we are.
That's exactly what they were doing. They were
You
doing
know?
that exactly for that reason.
Oh my
They were.
God.
Yeah,
Well,
it was, I wasn't glad that they burned the house, because they had to redo that whole house. They had to take down all the walls. And then they sold it. But I was not sad to see them go, because one family can ruin a neighborhood.
that sounds like material for your next book.
It could be, I think I did include something about them in one of my scenes. Just you know, you can get inspiration from anywhere when you're writing things.
Absolutely. Well,
And
one of
so,
my inspirations will probably be the trains that come through Fifth Ward,
okay.
including stopping on the tracks for sometimes an hour at a time. And it is a real symbol, in my opinion, of what this neighborhood has meant for some time now, right? But there's so much change happening. There's so much cool development going on. Um, I'm thinking about the Deluxe Theater and how arts are being celebrated there. They just had a Houston Cinema Festival there this past weekend. That's all right down the street on Lyons Avenue. Our bookstore is located here on Lyons Avenue, and there's
Also,
just so much
Lions.
development. Yeah, there's
Yeah,
so much
like Lions
development
is
that's happening.
like the main street, like Hollywood Boulevard of what Houston used to be. It was before I was here, but Lyons Avenue is where they said all the action used to be back in the
Yeah,
day.
yeah. The guys that you just had on talking about sports and all of that, um, the George Foreman movie, big George Foreman movie,
That was a great movie.
is right. Yeah, some of the opening scenes are set on Lyons Avenue right here in Houston.
Nice.
Um,
Oh,
so yeah.
okay.
Well, your bookstore's been making quite an impact. I remember when I met you, I was talking with the lady when you came up to the table and you started describing your bookstore, and she knew exactly what store it was. She was even able to describe the kids running around the front of the store. That's how much of an impact your store has made. And then also you mentioned that you hosted a NaNoWriMo kickoff event,
Yes.
which is wonderful. So you're getting out there. You've been able to spread the word about what you're doing.
Absolutely. And thank you for that. NaNoWriMo is something that was honestly new to me, right? This the National Novel Writing Month.
Mm-hmm.
and encouraging people to write 50,000 new words of fiction. So we were all sitting here at midnight on November 1st when the clock struck midnight, and started typing. Small group, not many of us, but again, I feel like big impact doesn't necessarily mean numbers. Those
Exactly.
intimate connections where someone's inspired, where iron gets to sharpen iron, makes a big difference.
Yeah, for those who don't know about NaNoWriMo, it's always in November, and it's from November 1st to 30th, and it's a national movement. I don't know who started it, but it's to encourage
It's
writers
actually
to write.
international. I've
Oh,
seen
okay.
they've actually been doing NaNoWriMo in other countries. When I was stationed in Belgium, there were cohorts throughout Europe who were
Okay.
celebrating NaNoWriMo.
Okay. So it's been around a while,
Mhm.
and it encourages writers to write 50,000 words during the month of November. And when I wrote my sequel, I didn't get 50,000 words done. But that month it wasn't last November because it came out last October. So it was the November of 2022. I didn't get 50,000, but it did get me moving,
I
and
think
I did
that's
a
the
lot
best
more
part
words.
about NaNoWriMo. Don't feel bad if you don't reach 50,000 words. The
Right.
fact that you got your book started is just the kickstart that you need. Just keep going. I mean, you may not finish your book until January, but the fact that you finally got it started is something to be celebrated.
Yeah, I was in the
Absolutely.
middle and kind of stuck. So when I was writing that month, that really helped me get further than I would have gotten without that push.
Yeah. Well, here we were, basically October 31st, right? Is a favorite holiday for lots of kids. So we actually hosted a harvest fest
Mhm.
here at the bookstore, and invited kids. So we had candy all over the tables,
Nice.
little snacks and popcorn. So when the adults arrived for NaNoWriMo, it was kind of the perfect thought food to just grab chocolate, grab popcorn. you know, Harvest Fest turned into Writers Fest, and that was a great way to kick off November. I too have not kept up with my habit of trying to do 16 to 1700 words a day, but I am also inspired by just getting started. And so yeah, I love that about the NaNoWriMo challenge. Just get started.
So are you an author as well?
I am, yes. I published my book in February of 2023. It's called Gifts from a Broken Leg: 6 Lessons of Relentless Gratitude in the Midst of a Bad Break. So
Okay,
it,
so it's a motivational book.
it is, yes. It mixes humor, leadership, and really, I would say self-love, right? All into one title that's all about your mindset. Um, at the framework for the book is I actually broke my leg trying to be a super mom, ice skating with my boys on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. And I was stuck recovering from surgery on the couch for 6 weeks with the boot on, right? And my boys were smaller at the time, must have been no, 3.5 and 5.5 at that time. And our daughter had not been born.
Oh,
Yeah.
mm,
So,
that's
um,
they're very active. Well, their boys are active. Period. I'm just thinking,
yes,
very
yes.
energetic.
Yes. I think these guys take it to another level. But
All
anyway,
moms say that about their boys. If they have two, especially, because
yeah,
then they're wrestling and doing, they're just. I had two brothers, so
yeah,
they used to wrestle and roll around on the floor, not fighting, just like rolling, just like moving, just playing.
yeah,
And
yes, they fuel each other.
so I hear you on that.
Yeah. So basically, this book captures these 6 messages that I really feel like God downloaded to me while I was stuck on that couch, sitting still. That's when you get some of the best material, some of the best lessons. I
Yes.
had no idea that that was going to be the moment that I would write my book. It definitely wasn't the plan for my first book to be about breaking my leg, but there it was. And I think it's been an inspiration for people, especially going through tough times. I had a wife whose husband was really dying, tell me, I read your book and it gave me so much hope. It reminded me to look for God's hand in everything. And that's really
That's
the theme of the
beautiful.
book. Yeah. Look for
I
God's hand
think
in it.
that's I think that's a goal of every author. It's nice to make money, but when you're actually impacting the people who are reading your books, I think that's something that can't be replaced. That's something that you can't put a price tag on.
Hmm. Absolutely true. Absolutely true.
How
Yeah.
do you balance being a lawyer with being a bookstore owner?
Well, I have to say, I am grateful to my husband. He really makes a lot of my big visions possible. I'm out here trying to do all the things, trying to grow spaces and curate and build community. And my husband is very practical. And so he's like, okay, what do we need to do to just keep things in order while Carla goes and thinks of the next big thing. So I have to celebrate him for that for sure. And then the other thing is we are really building out our store in a direction where we're going to focus on events, right? And inviting people into the store specifically for events. And of course, when they're here, we may be featuring a specific book or a specific author, but they'll have access to our full collection. Um, that hopefully will be a way for us to start to better manage our opportunities to grow our community, and also the other things that we've got going on during the day. I think y'all know that brick and mortar stores are under siege, right? And especially brick and mortar bookstores. So how do we start a store in 2024 when Barnes and Nobles is shutting down locations all over the place, right? And our answer really is that it's all about that community. It's all about really focusing in on a group of folks who need to be celebrated, and want to spend time together, and doing things like creating spaces where people look forward to the snacks, that sort
Right.
of thing, or to the smells. Someone was telling me the other day, oh my gosh, I love independent small bookstores. Just the smell of the books, gets me excited. And so that's what we're really focused on is creating those little nooks and niches where people feel seen, heard, and fully welcomed.
So, are
Beautiful.
you open every day or only on weekends, or what's your schedule as far as the store being open?
Yeah. So we have been open 6 days a week, and we are moving to an events only model, where
Hmm.
people will see the announcement of our store being open for a specific event on our website, on our social media, through our email and text messages. So that's the direction that we're going, and we'll learn and grow from there to see if we need to shift to a different model. But we've definitely had it open, and been looking and excited for people to come. We've noticed that people really come when we invite them to specific events. We do a lot of growth when we are vendors at other events, um, whether it's a conference or speaking or a festival. And then we're also looking to grow our traffic on our brand new website. So our online shopping experience will be open to people 24/7 at SisStoreJoy.com. And we're excited to see the growth and the direction going from there. And as the demand of our community changes, we want to change in response to that.
Well, we did put the link to your store in the chat. So hopefully our viewers will click the link and visit your store. But now, what can an author do? Let's say an author wants to have an event, a book signing, a book launch, or so forth at your store. What should they do?
Thank you. So, our bookstore is made up of collective members. So, every book that's featured in this store is supplied by one of our collective members. So, that's a group of women who have all committed to being in our collective. We have monthly masterminds with our collective. They have the exclusive right to host events in our store, to have their books on our shelves, and to be promoted through our platforms. So
Mhm.
if an author wants their book in our store or to have an event here, they should definitely check out our collective membership, and they can find out more about that on at sisterjoy.com.
Okay. Are you familiar with Tammy Smithers? She is in
No.
Houston. She has a Facebook group called Personal Librarian, and it was launched as a result of a historical fiction book by Victoria Christopher Murray that came out 3, 4 years ago.
Right, I remember
And
that.
She was at the National Black Book Festival. Um, but with what she does, their mission is to support books by African American women that are historical fiction books. That's their total focus. And they put on events around the books and the book releases and the history behind the books or the locations. And they're always looking for places to have their events that surround these book releases. Some of them are in Houston, but they travel. I think they just went to New York for something. Um,
Mm.
so I need to connect the two of you because I'm sure that she could utilize your space for something they have coming up in the future. They announced their book list like in advance, but I don't think they've announced for 2025 yet. But they focus exclusively on historical fiction books by Black women.
That's incredible. I'd love to meet her for sure. And I love historical fiction. History is my jam, one of my majors.
Okay, yeah. And I met her for the first time at the festival. She was on the show a couple of years ago, and I had never met her in person, but she came to the festival and I got to meet her then. There, did you meet her, Rhonda? Did you? Oh,
I did. I remember that interview when I haven't met her face to face,
okay.
but
So
I
you didn't
remember
meet her
that.
when she was at the festival
No.
because she came because of Vanessa Miller's book, The African Queen. That's
Okay,
historical,
was she there during my
or the
interview?
American Queen. I always want to call her the African Queen. Isn't
It's
the
the
American
American
Queen?
Queen.
I always want to call her the African Queen. I don't know why. But she was there when Vanessa was there, and I took a
Okay.
picture with her and Vanessa.
Okay,
Um,
I may have missed her. I
you were in
probably
the
saw
back,
her during the interview, but I
right?
don't remember actually like standing and talking with her.
Yeah. So, but um, Karla, tell us once again the name of your bookstore so people can go visit your store physically or online.
Yes, thank you. So it's the SisStore Joy Christian Bookstore, and we are located at 4107 Lyons Avenue, Houston, Texas, 77020, and online at sisstorejoy.com. And we'd love for you to follow us on all social media platforms. We're on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, and looking forward to dropping more content there.
Okay.
Well,
Well,
thank
it
you
was great
so
having
much
you on
for
the
joining
show.
us.
Congratulations on the launch of your store. And I'm going to make myself a note so I won't forget to connect you with Tammy Smithers.
Awesome. Thank y'all so much. I appreciate it. This has been an amazing opportunity. And God bless you as you continue to grow and bless folks with this
And the
platform.
and the same to you. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
Okay, take care.
Bye bye.
All right. Good night.